I'm going to run a little exercise with you guys. Let me just share my screen and talk about ROI and how you guys should start thinking about or considering ROI for the product as well. Now, you guys are really the masters. It's not really me. You guys are the ones who know what the ROI is going to look like for each and every unique prospect that you have. I'm going to get to know your prospects after I start listening to your calls. So I used to be a broker for a company that sold financing. Okay. Terrible handwriting. Hold on. Let me just do that again. I feel embarrassed. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Financing. Now, we sold financing to help people become CDL drivers. Okay. So these were low income, low skilled people who came to us that wanted to learn how to drive a truck so that they could upskill their career. This was like 10 years ago. I was in this industry for quite a while. Now, the problem was that they could go and train directly with a provider by paying the provider up front, let's say about $2,500 cash. We would charge nearly double that, around $4,000 or even up to $6,000. I'm not sure what you call it in American, but we call it Arctic trailers, like C1, C2, like the big trailers. And then you have the smaller ones. So we would teach 3 different types of licenses. So I would always get this objection over the phone where it was like, well, I could just do it down the street. I could do it for way cheaper. That was a big problem because we were a very commoditized service. So I had to figure a way out of how do I convince the person who knows that he could buy it for this, pay me this or this, and have it make sense. So this is a very crazy thing in sales psychology, because when you don't believe something, your sales performance will drop. So there was a period of time where even I didn't realize why somebody should buy it from us rather than someone else. You guys should always take note of when you have what's called an internal objection. When you have an internal objection, it will reflect on a call because you haven't dealt with it yourself. And there are ways to deal with it, which I'll talk about again another time. But what I did is I figured out that the financing, okay, and the training time it took and the job that they get was way better than a $2,500 deal, and they would actually get way more money out of it. How? Because all they had to pay us, first of all, was $10 up front to get qualified. And after the $10, they would spend $99 a month for 3 months, okay, which is basically $310 in total to get qualified as a driver. It might take them another month or 2, but usually just a month to get a entry-level job that would probably pay them anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000 a month, compared to the $1,500, okay, or $1,000 a month that they were making. So what am I getting at here? By using so first of all, these guys had no liquid. They had nothing. So they didn't have the money to even pay these guys at $2,500 up front. And if they did, they would go zero. With us, they would just pay $310, then get an entry-level job for $2,500 to $3,000. This was essentially about $1,000 to $2,000 more than what they were making already. So what that meant was, basically, this was the closing line. So I would say to them, hey, so how much more are you making? They would say I'm making about $2,000 more per month. I would say, okay, so who's going to pay off the loan? Is it you or is it the job? And they would say, oh my God, is it the job? It's the job that's going to pay it back within 3 months or 4 months. I'd say, okay, great. And how long would it take you to save up the $2,500? About 2 years or a year or 2 years. And that's it. The deal would close itself. Okay. So I like to run this exercise because you can actually find this with every single prospect that you speak with, depending on their situation. So for example, if the guy says to you, hey, I want to get a promotion at my management job and move up as an executive, well, how much is that worth to you? Why an executive? What would that give you? Obviously, these are classic sales lines that you'll find inside the script, okay? They're going to say to you, well, that job is actually worth $100,000 as opposed to the $70,000. Well, then the $6,900 looks like a mere investment in front of something like that. But you have to get a tangible understanding of what that return is going to look like in order to use those lines and say, well, who's going to pay for it then? Will it be you or will it be the course? This is called setting up for the close, or setting the stage for the close, okay? You can't just go into a close without having that kind of information.